These days, we take Hawkeye for granted in tennis. A player can challenge a call and have it reviewed in minutes. But do you know where it came from? Well, Serena Williams has finally opened up about how one match at the US Open was so controversial that it led to the introduction of the technology. So what exactly happened that day? And how did it change tennis as we know it? Stay tuned to find out. Coming back from injury, in 2004, Serena Williams was having a tough year. After reaching world number 1 for the first time in 2002, she followed that up with the Serena Slam, winning all 4 Grand Slams in a calendar year. But at the end of 2003, she was forced to withdraw from all competitions when she had surgery on her knee. The recovery was slow, and she ended up spending 8 months away from professional tennis. This caused her to miss the 2004 Olympic Games as well as the Australian Open. Then at the French Open, she was knocked out in the quarterfinals for the first time in 3 years. By this time, she had slipped to world number 7 and then out of the top 10 after losing the Wimbledon final to Maria Sharapova. She was determined to make it back to the top spot, and her home Grand Slam felt like the perfect place to launch a comeback. Oh, Serena, if you only knew what bad luck was waiting for you there. The 2004 US Open. The next major was at the US Open, where she was number 3 seed despite being ranked number 11 in the world. She started out strong, powering her way to the quarterfinals without dropping a set. That's when she ran into Jennifer Capriati. The two had faced off 16 times before, with Serena holding a 10-6 record over her fellow American. But this would be a match that went down in history, and for all the wrong reasons. If you've ever seen a compilation of tennis umpire mistakes, then you have an idea what's coming next. The first questionable call came in the first set when Williams was already up 2 games. The ball was called out at Capriati's baseline, but an instant Hawkeye replay was shown on television, which showed it touching the line. Okay, one mistake, sure, no big problem. Even Serena let it go after a little stare of disbelief. Besides, she was comfortably winning the set. But the second error was a lot more consequential. It was the beginning of the third set, and Capriati had won a setback to make it 1-1. The score was deuce in the first game, and after a rally, Williams finished the point with what looked like a clear winner. But then the chair umpire announced that it was advantage Capriati, which totally took Serena by surprise. She protested that it was clearly in, and sure enough, a video replay confirmed that not only was it in, but it was inside the line. Capriati went on to win that set and the next one after 2 more shocking calls from the line umpires. In her own words, Serena recently sat down with Meghan Markle for an episode of her podcast, Archetypes, and opened up about that day and how it shaped the future of tennis. For Williams, it led to a fear of hitting because she thought that line umpires would call it out regardless. In a sport that is judged in centimeters and millimeters, she said that taking that ambition away from her led to the loss of her edge. She also talked about her experience of being subject to a standard that isn't applied to men. She said that tennis players are told to be monotone, but fans want to see emotion from them to make it more exciting. During her quarterfinal match against Capriati, Williams was pretty emotional, and rightly so. Her anger at the incorrect calls was echoed by the commentators. Former player John McEnroe, who commentated the match, said, "Hawkeye, please, this is getting ridiculous." One of the calls that were shown to be clearly inside the court was actually overruled by the chair umpire Mariana Alves, who called it out. For her mistake, the Portuguese umpire was fired from the rest of the tournament, and Williams received an apology from the association's representative. After the match, Serena's opponent Jennifer Capriati said that she didn't understand what the big deal was. Probably because you won the match, Jennifer. Up next, how did Hawkeye change the way tennis was played? And is the US Open using a fully automatic line calling system now? So don't go anywhere. Introducing the Hawkeye system. Something good did come out of the incident in the end, though. It started a big discussion about Hawkeye technology after the match, especially because angry fans could see the Hawkeye conclusions from home on the TV. After a lively debate, Hawkeye was tested 2 years later by the International Tennis Federation and approved for use. The 2006 US Open was the first Grand Slam to use the technology and introduced the possibility of players challenging points. Now it's hard to imagine the sport without it. Players now get 3 challenges per set. Unless their challenge is correct, then they get to keep it. It has also taken some of the pressure off umpires. If players are suspicious of a call, they can have it checked. That way, what happened in the Capriati and Williams game can be avoided. The same goes for John McEnroe's famous tirades against umpires for making mistakes. At least he thought they were mistakes. According to some early data from the Hawkeye system, players are correct about 30% of their challenges. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence in line umpires if almost 1 in 3 of the close calls is wrong. At the US Open in 2020, the tournament started to introduce Hawkeye Live on selected courts because of the pandemic, while other tournaments have refused to. The system makes calls in real time and reduces the need for line umpires. The computer callers will continue this year at the US Open. Do we want robots running things, or to correct set mistakes, calls for even more technology. For some fans, Hawkeye isn't enough. There's been a push to introduce video assistant referee into the sport. Better known as VAR, the technology is already used in football to replay incidents and settle disputes. The most recent incident was at the U.S. Open in a match between Andy Murray and Francisco Cerundolo. Murray won the match in straight sets, but there was a tense moment when Cerundolo raced to get a volley of Murray's at the end of the first set. The ball looked like it might have double bounced, and Murray immediately complained to the chair umpire. Double bounces are notoriously difficult for umpires to identify, and more often than not, when a player complains, the umpire missed something. A replay confirmed that Murray was right, and to put the umpire under even more pressure, the replay was played inside the stadium. The crowd started to boo before Cerundolo graciously conceded the point, which was met with applause. It was a nice moment, but the pressure probably shouldn't have fallen on the player to make the right call. After the match, the Argentinian was the one calling for a VAR system. He said that there should be a system in place to check if it was the right call, but he also said, "I'm not going to steal a point. Of course, I'm not going to win a point if I lost it." That's great sportsmanship, though some players might not have been so kind. We're looking at you, Jennifer Capriati. The end of the line. Serena Williams has been competing in professional tennis since 1995. That's more than 2.5 decades of playing. Last month, she announced in a Vogue article that she will finally be stepping away from the sport to focus on her family. In 2017, she gave birth to her first daughter, Olympia, but that's not all she did that year. Earlier in the season, she won the Australian Open while pregnant. Williams found out just before the tournament started that she was already 8 weeks along at the age of 35. The fact that she not only competed, but won the entire Grand Slam, which was her record-breaking 23rd of her career, led to many people praising her as the greatest of all time. But it looks like even the mighty Serena has a limit. Now that she is thinking about having another child, she thinks that she'll be a little too old to do it all over again. At the age of 41, she said, "Something's got to give." She also took the opportunity to point out that she would not have to consider retirement if she were a man, and she prefers to use the word transition rather than retire. One of the things that she regrets was not being able to match or break the record set by Margaret Court of 24 Grand Slams, though she did point out that she should have had 30 plus if it weren't for giving birth, playing through depression, and all of the other obstacles she faced. That's what made her so strong, though. Do you think that Hawkeye has been a good addition to tennis? And should line umpires be removed altogether? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in the next one.